So 9 months ago, I decided to embark on a little experiment and use my credit card exclusively for all of my purchases. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you how I did with that experiment, as well as 6 mistakes that I want you to avoid as a credit card beginner. Hi everyone, this is Camilla, the Focus Spender, and welcome to my channel where I teach you how to get out of debt, save more money, and invest so that you can build wealth and leave a lasting legacy. Now, if you've been following my channel for a long time, you know that I did the Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover years ago to wipe out $65,000 worth of student loan debt. And one of the things that he preaches is that you should never use a credit card. And honestly, that was one of my tweaks to the program. I always use my credit card. I continued to use my credit card while I was paying off my debt and even after. But what I did is that I would only use my credit card for major purchases. If I was going to purchase something like a new computer or a new camera, if I was going to go on vacation, then I would use the credit card so that I could always take advantage of the points that I could earn. But for my day-to-day expenses, I just used my debit card, and I had various sinking funds in my savings accounts that I would use to pay myself back. So I mainly did this because I don't really like paying bills. I mean, who likes paying bills? But I always would forget, like, oh my gosh, I have the bill to pay. Or I would forget that I spent money on something and then the bill comes due and I'm like, dang it, now I have to go take extra money and pay this bill off. So for the most part, I really tried not to use my credit card. And for a really long time, the only thing that would get charged to my credit card was my Easy Pass fill up, so that when I would go drive, I would be able to pay the tolls without any worry. But in June, I decided to do things a little bit different. I decided, you know what? You're a big girl now. You are very responsible. You can use your credit card and take advantage of all that it has to offer. There is no reason to be scared, especially when you know that you're a responsible person. So I decided, okay, now is the time. And from then on out, I just use my credit card exclusively. Now, how did I do and how did I feel about it? I still hated paying the bills. I would always forget. I wouldn't forget to pay the bill, but it was like something that I had to constantly remind myself, like, you have to go and check to see how much you spent on your credit card so that you can pay the bill on time because you don't want any late charges. And for the most part, I did fantastic with that, except for one time where I paid a portion of my bill. And then because I have sinking funds to really save money for different categories, I went into my sinking funds and I don't know what I was paying for. Maybe I bought some new clothes. I can't really remember, but I took the money out and I put it into my checking account. And for a few weeks later, I kept looking at my checking account and I would think, I have a little bit more money than I expected. And then I would look at my credit card bill and I would think, my bill is higher than I expected. It took me a whole month to figure out that I never clicked pay on the credit card bill until the following month when I was looking at my bill and I was going through it and I was categorizing it and I realized I had a $9 interest charge and I thought, oh my gosh, I forgot to pay the bill. So luckily I did pay a portion of the bill, so I didn't get a late fee. It was just an interest charge for me forgetting to hit submit on my payment. I think I earned almost $300 in points from June till now. So I did redeem some of it last year and I still have 136 points left to redeem now. So that part was good. So one thing I did notice from this experiment is that when I don't have a visual marker to show me how much money I have left in my account on a regular basis, I can overspend a little bit. I am definitely human. I spent a little bit more money than I expected just because I looked at my debit card account, but I wasn't always looking at my credit card account. Or when I was looking at my credit card account, sometimes I would think, oh, well, that's money from the previous bill statement that's not due until, the 4th of the month. So, this month is fine. And then I would go back and I would realize, well, maybe I spent a little bit more than I thought I would last month, or maybe I was spending a little bit more than I thought this month. So the visual markers that I was using with my debit card really helped me to keep my spending in check because that's how I was doing my budgeting. The way I like to do my budget is that I like to separate all of my money as soon as it comes in, meaning whatever needs to go to sinking funds will go, whatever needs to go to investments, etc. And then like the small portion that's left is what I have left to spend. But with using my credit card, I didn't have that visual marker to say, you need to stop spending. So using a credit card exclusively for all of your purchases is not gonna work if you're someone who is an overspender in general. So basically, if you are an overspender, then credit cards are probably not for you. But if you are responsible and you take my advice that is coming up, you should be okay. So now let's go into the 6 mistakes that I want you to avoid as a credit card beginner, or someone that's not a beginner, but you just want to be better at using your credit cards. So the first mistake is using a credit card without a rock solid budget in place. So just like I said that I was using visual markers, basically the debit card balance, to help me not overspend, that is not going to work when you're using a credit card exclusively. When you're using a credit card exclusively, you do actually need to have a budget in place. You need to be able to say, I only want to spend this amount for the month in groceries. I only want to spend this amount for the month in clothes. And if you spend over in one category, you have to be willing to adjust and spend less in another category so that you don't overspend for the month. So you need to follow a zero-based budget in this example. And I do have a video on the different styles of budgeting that you can find in my description box below if you want to just get more information on different ways you can budget your money. So when you're using your credit card, you want to make sure you do have a budget that you are following and you are tracking on a consistent basis. It's not enough to just have the budget, but you have to be willing to go in at least once a week and make sure that you're not overspending in any categories. So mistake number 2 is using more than one credit card. And I know people are not gonna like hearing this, because I know there's people that say, well, I use this credit card for airline miles and I use this credit card for, some other type of points. But for me personally, I know how I am. There was a brief moment in my life where I had 2 credit cards and I always would forget to pay one of those bills. Always, hands down, I would just forget that it even existed. So if you are someone that has 5 credit cards, 6 credit cards, and you're like, I'm going to use this credit card here and I'm going to use this credit card there, it is going to be so hard to track what is going on. You're going to forget something at some point. So for me, I would just stick to one credit card. I'm not telling you to close your credit card accounts, but I'm saying stick to one credit card so that you are not going all over the place trying to manage everything, because that's not going to work. Mistake number 3 that I want you to avoid is using high interest store credit cards. I absolutely hate store credit cards, and I hate when workers, and I'm sure it's commission based, it is probably part of their metrics as an employee, but I hate when I go to a store and I get offered a credit card, especially when my purchase is like $20. If I'm spending $2,000 and you say, you could save 20% by signing up for a credit card, I might be tempted, because 20% of $2,000 is $200. That is significant. But when I spend $20 and you're saying to me, oh, you could save 20%, $2? $2. No, keep your credit card, leave me alone. Because guess what? What happens when you use that store credit card is that, 1, the interest rate is crazy high. It's like 27, 28%. 2, you get tons of coupons in the mail, which sounds good, but it will lead you to overspend. So without those coupons, you're not thinking about J. Crew or Ann Taylor or Forever 21 or whatever store you shop at. You're not thinking about these stores. You're only thinking about these stores when you're ready to shop. But when those coupons come in, boom, let me go, let me go, let me go, let me go. Next thing you know, you have this crazy bill that you can't keep up with. You might think, I'm just going to pay the minimum and that's okay. And it's not okay. You're going to end up in a world of trouble. So I would say just avoid store credit cards altogether. Mistake number 4 is twofold. 1, carrying a balance from month to month, and 2, paying your bills late. You don't want to carry a balance and you don't want to pay your bills late, because that's going to leave you with interest charges and late fees. Basically, you want to avoid fees altogether. So when you are using your credit card, you need to be able to pay off the bill in full, on time, every single month, in order for it to be a benefit and not a hindrance to your financial goals. Mistake number 5 is to not max out your credit card. Just because the credit card company gave you $5,000 or $10,000 does not mean that you need to max it out and spend that amount, every month or every other month or whatever. You don't want to do that. If you are really watching your credit score, you're going to want to make sure that you're spending no more than 30% of your balance at any given time. Also, it's going to be really hard to pay off your bill on time in full if you are maxing out your credit card, because unless you're just like a baller and you just have it like that, it is really going to be hard. So I would say just make sure you're not spending more than 30% of your credit card balance at any given time. And mistake number 6 is not having savings, emergency funds, not using a sinking fund or sinking funds to help fund your purchases. So just because you have a credit card does not mean that you need to be turning to this credit card for emergencies. The purpose of you using your credit card is to further your financial goals and not put you in financial strain. So if there is an emergency, you want to make sure you still have cash reserves that you can turn to when you need to. And you also want to make sure that you are using sinking funds. So just because you have that credit card with a large balance doesn't mean that you say, okay, I want to go on a trip and I'm going to put it on my credit card. Yes, you're going to put it on your credit card and then you're immediately going to go to your vacation sinking fund so that you can withdraw the money for that trip and pay off your credit card bill immediately or as soon as the bill comes due. You don't want to just rack up charges because it's like, well, you know, the money's going to come, the money's going to come. You still want to make sure you are practicing healthy financial habits by having your different sinking funds, your emergency fund, and your savings account so that when the bill comes due, you are able to come back and pay it off on time and in full. Now, I have a sinking fund tracker in my description box below that you can download, and that will allow you to plan out your year and how much you need to save while you're doing your budgets so that you can use your credit card responsibly and still have the cash to pay off the bill. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.